Welcome to Not Suitable for Work. I'm your host, Peter C. Diamond. You think your office is nuts? Wait until you hear some of these stories.
It's a story I tell people as a cautionary tale of what not to do in a pressure-filled situation.
And there's nothing like making a joke and looking at a room full of people who, are just stone-faced, and they know that you blew it.
What about our professional dynamic has given you a license to act in this way?
I realized she's kind of a mean girl.
With each podcast, I'll interview people who have a humorous work story to share. Along the way, I'll offer tidbits of advice to help you make sense of your own office nonsense. Don't worry, no careers were harmed in making Not Suitable for Work. Names and places may have been changed to protect the not so innocent. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Have you ever been jealous that your coworkers are working on a project or client that seems way cooler than yours? Everything they do turns to gold. They're having fun and getting all the accolades. And you want a sliver of that success. Today's guest was in that exact situation. Feeling like he was missing out, he lobbied to work on his company's most prestigious client. His wish was finally granted, but what he got was far more than he bargained for. His reputation and resolve were severely tested at every step of the project. Finally, reaching a breaking point, he put his career and possibly the client's business on the line. Did it pay off? At what cost? Could he recover? Let's find out.
It kind of starts where, I've semi-recently switched jobs a year ago in the same industry. I work in the marketing world. I've worked for 5 years at one company, and I've switched companies, and I'm doing well at the new company. And so I know what I'm doing, but I'm by no means an expert. I'm fairly middle to junior in this new company, but I have a good reputation going. So much so that I've sort of developed pretty quickly an expertise, and especially working in the field of alcohol. So I'm doing 90% of the work that I'm doing is in alcohol, and the rest of my company works in all sorts of different things, in tech, in fashion, in even things like body wash and mayonnaise. It's all across the board, and everything that I'm doing is in alcohol. And so while it's going great, there's sort of this chorus of voices that is saying, "Hey, we've got to get Jesse involved in some other things."
In mayonnaise, is that the one that you're most interested in?
Got to get this kid on a global mayonnaise project.
Exactly.
But and I'm sort of saying the same thing. I'm like, I'm getting burned out on this alcohol stuff. But what keeps happening is every time someone says, "Okay, next project will definitely get you on something else." But then these alcohol projects come up, and it's just perfectly suited for me. And so it just keeps, they're like, I mean, we wanted to, Jesse, but it's there's this thing, and it's perfect. So anyway, finally, this project comes up. It's in the world of sort of broadly in fashion. And it's okay, Jesse's going to be on this project. And we've just done another project with the same parent company. They own different brands. And it's
Hey, Jesse. So would you say, are you a fashionista? Would this be an area of interest and expertise for you, or is this a little bit outside your zone?
I'm by no means a fashionista, but not oblivious to, and I would say that overall, I'm interested in human behaviors. And so it's and the other thing is that we just got done with this other project with their parent company where it was the most fascinating project, and it's this case study for success across our company, and it's been talked about so much, and everybody's just putting it on this pedestal of the great work we do as a company, and me, I'm over here talking about beer again with 22-year-old frat boys, and it's just like, God, I have to do something with my life. Like, people in my company are doing this interesting work, and I'm watching people drink beer.
So you're like, I'm going to ride the coattails of this. I'm going to jump on this, and and kind of take advantage of all this success.
Almost more like I'm going to be a part of the brilliance of our company.
Got it.
There's this interesting work being done. None of it is being done by me, but there's this other world of stuff happening, and I got to be a part of it. So they try to take me off of this project 3 or 4 times because, again, alcohol projects are coming in. The clients ask for me by name, all of this sort of stuff. But people, and my boss in particular, she says, look, we've got to get him involved in some other stuff. So like people are standing up for me and my right to do this other project. Great. So it starts to happen. And it's not great. And part of my expertise in alcohol is like all of these projects go well because I know what I'm doing and all that stuff. I'm working with this other person. I'm the junior person on this project. The person who's leading the project is not known for attention to detail. And there are some little things that aren't going great. And those things start to snowball, as I think a lot of times they do. Some of the details are getting missed, and then when those sort of filter back to the client and, the client's boss and stuff, they're not great. And so this relationship starts to build. And this is a long project. This is 6 months. And I mean, for us, usually projects are more like a month, maybe 2 months. So this is a long project. And the relationship starts to not be that great between us and the client. We've got this weird middle person who is very much two-faced with us, and sort of like it's our complete contact. It's the only person that we talk to, and then we have these conversations about what we're finding and how the project's going and all that sort of stuff. Everything's great on the phone. Then he does this thing where he goes and sort of like hands the thing that we talked through with him back to his boss, who is very senior at this company with no context. So like maybe we've put together like a Word document on some findings. I mean, there's probably grammar errors, like it's just very preliminary stuff. And he just is like handing it to her. And then she's coming back with a real like, what is this garbage? And so then there's these moments of like, the senior person gets very upset and starts to fire off these emails to like the heads of our company on like, hey, this project is garbage. Nobody knows what they're doing. So it's like this cycle of we're doing this project and things are going well. All of a sudden it's an emergency. We're doing this project. Things are going pretty well. All of a sudden it's an emergency. This woman especially seems to hate us. And it's, again, in complete juxtaposition with the project that our company had just done with them, which, again, is celebrated in their organization as well as ours.
So is it the same people or same clients, or is it a different set of clients?
No, it's different. I mean, the organization is, some of the same people are like vaguely involved, but definitely not like on a day-to-day basis. And so it's not good. And my life is not good. It's super stressful. Everything that we're doing is sort of like, it's fine until it's horrible, and then everything's on fire, and it's not great. And again, this is the project that I have like fought for, and everybody's fought for me to get on, and it's starting.
Are you now pining for your days on beer? Are you thinking, can I just 100%. Go back to that beer thing and the frat boys? And I get that. I know that.
100%. This is what everybody's been saying, you need to get into this other world. And to me, this other world is nothing but pain and sleepless nights and being berated by people who are just being very mean to. Like, this personality of this senior woman is just very biting and short and mean. And so you're, conference calls and stuff where you're just like trying to explain what she's already upset about because this other person has sort of preliminary shared something with her. that, objectively looks like garbage because it's not a final presentation. So there's a lot of just like miscues and stuff like that. But when somebody's already upset, it's so hard to fight that relationship back. Like she's already very confrontational on what we are telling her, probably because we forgot to capitalize the name of her company in this thing. So it's just like these little things are killing us. So this happens on a number of occasions, this sort of cycle of it's okay for a little bit, it blows up, it's okay for a little bit, it blows up. It is finally the day before what is going to be like the big presentation. There's going to be 50 or 60 people across, their whole sales organization and all this stuff. And we're going to present, and then, we're going to break out into little workshops, and we're going to help them solve all of their marketing needs, basically. And so this day starts. I live in Chicago. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to fly to New York. All the work is done and the presentation is done. So I'm going to meet up with, my team. We're going to go through a couple things. We're going to get up in the morning and we're going to do this big 6-hour presentation. The day starts with a firestorm of emails that are coming at about 7:00 in the morning Central, where this weird intermediary guy is calling emergency because his boss has just called emergency saying, everything is broken, none of this stuff is okay, everything, we might have to cancel. The quality of this work is so poor that we might have to cancel this entire day where 50 people are being invited to or whatever. So the president of our company, who lives in Vancouver, is getting these emails at 5:30 in the morning. He has the flu. So he feels terrible. He doesn't understand what is going on with these people and why they are contacting him and saying, you need to fix your whole company. Everything is garbage right now. When I start getting these emails, they haven't come to me. They've come to him and he's saying, what is going on? I'm sort of the junior person. And so I'm like, I don't know. The work is actually very good. So I'm getting on this plane, and I know all of this is happening, and this is 2000. This is right before internet on planes becomes a reliable thing. So I get up in the air, and it's sort of 2.5 hours of silence as I fly to New York, and I get off of the plane.
Jesse, it's funny. I'm sitting here, I'm sweating just thinking about you in this position, and kind of having to be confronted with all this stuff because you're getting bombarded by client and your president. It's just it's giving me angst.
Everything is on fire, and yeah. I'm generally regarded as good at my job. I believe that I am good at my job. My overall sense of confidence is generally pretty high, but I will say through this process has been kind of gutted. So I'm when you get to that question when again, I've been doing this job for 6-7 years. I'm pretty good at it. I can recognize the difference between a good set of insights and a bunch of garbage. And so when these people keep saying this is garbage, it is existentially confusing. So I get off this plane and, I take my phone off of airplane mode, and it's bad. What has happened in the interim is that the woman that I'm working for who's leading the project is on her way over to their company's headquarters in New York. I am to go and meet her, and we're going to, basically they've called emergency meeting with all of the main clients, which is probably about 8 people, our weird two-faced client, the very, I don't know if she's truly a bitch in her heart, but she's really been very mean to us, and then some other people. So the highs, the lows, everybody, not the 50 people, but the 8 key stakeholders. And I'm going to go over there, and we're going to sit down with these people, and we're going to try to figure this thing all out. We also have the president of my company who has the flu, and it's still only 9:00 in the morning in Vancouver, and his whole morning has just been polluted with these seemingly crazy people telling him that all these people that he knows that are quality are actually made of garbage, and that everything is terrible. So I walk into this very large room where there is like like your average long table sort of thing, probably like a 10-foot long table with about 8 seats around it. And there is the female that I work with. There is a phone in the middle of the table, which has my founder on the phone. And then there are 8 very angry clients sitting there. And so, it's like, okay. And this starts with instigates an 8-hour, insanely pedantic and tedious review of every single word and image and conclusion in about a 120-page, PowerPoint deck sort of thing.
Wait, 8 hours in this room?
I get off the plane at about 11 a.m. It's probably 11:45 when I get to the offices, and we leave there at about 8 o'clock at night. Correct. The day before this thing. And just to give a little context on how does this normally go? What normally happens is we've done this project, we've had all these check-ins where people are saying, of course, those are good conclusions for the information that we have all witnessed in this project. Let's go out and interview consumers about their relationship with these clothes and this brand and this stuff. And after doing that, a fairly clear picture emerges. They feel this way, and because of that, some ideas that we could optimize your business are, sometimes there are some contentious things at the end. Our company is sort of known for, pushing some buttons, being a little bit edgy. It's part of what we do. But does this ever happen? No. This is a full-scale rejection of everything. So we start, and we're going through, and it's like page 1. And these are things like, this report starts with here is what we were asked to do. And these things come straight from the proposal. And we're already arguing about these sort of things where it's like, you're saying this, but this. And it's just like, this is so confrontational. And these are just, this wording is literally taken from the proposal that, we all agreed on 8 months ago when we approved this project. This is literally what you asked us to do. I don't know how we're arguing about these things. And again, we have my flu-ridden president of my company, who, like a lot of presidents of company, he's a very brilliant man who has no patience for this level of detail. Again, he's also probably having explosive diarrhea and vomiting in between muting this conference call. He hates what is going on. He trusts us, his workers. I mean, he knows that we have done this thing. He hates what is happening in this room. He is also he's British, and so his sense, just the way his voice comes across is very painfully. They're asking us to dumb all this stuff down, and they're calling into question all these things, and he's just saying things like. There's this one point where the head woman, who has been very mean to us, let's call her Sharon. That's not her real name, but let's call her Sharon. Sharon is saying, "You're saying these things. I need these insights to be so clear that my 80-year-old grandma can understand them." She says this 3 or 4 times until the president of my company just finally says, "Is your 80-year-old grandma a marketing professional? Because maybe we should respect our audience enough to that they are marketing professionals and that they're not, these completely stupid individuals." And so it's conflicting. It's terrible in this room. We are in the room, but our president is not doing us any favors by but it's really bad. So let's say that it's now about 5 o'clock. It's been about 5 hours in this room. We are 3/4 the way through this thing. What has emerged is we're not making any changes. we're just explaining it to them. Like, they essentially, and especially this one woman, she just hasn't read it. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like when you're watching a movie with somebody and somebody comes on the screen and then the person next to you says, "Who's that guy?" And it's like, do you want to give the filmmaker a chance to develop the character? And so that's what she's doing. We're in slide 1 about like, here's a little bit about your consumers. And it's just like, well, how do they feel about pants? And it's like, maybe I'm going to start a story here. So it's just like, we're not actually changing anything. We're just going through every single word and image on this thing. They're changing some words like, you're using the word ambitious. Do you really mean aspirational? Things like that. And you're like, I could go either way. If you want to get out the thesaurus, like, it's fine, but like, in no way does this constitute an emergency, and I have no idea what's going on here. So it's getting pretty tiresome by about this time. What's emerging is you're not really making much changes. I don't know why you're so angry. You haven't seemed to understood what we're saying, but we're actually not changing anything. However, that said, the anger is not dissipated in the room. So there's a moment, and it's an inflection point in my life. I'm fed up. Like I said, I mean, this whole day, this whole month, I've been scared. I've been intimidated. I have to work these 14-hour days and stuff because people are saying everything that we've done is garbage. Now I've been sitting here for 5 or 6 hours, and I'm sitting here looking. I'm like, I'm not even changing anything. You people are terrible. You people are mean, and this is bullshit. Like, I'm getting. And, the president of my company, he's long been off the phone. He's like, you guys, I'm shitting my pants here. Like, I can't be on the phone as we go through every single thing. It sounds like things are resolving themselves. I'll be there tomorrow for this big presentation.
Now, was he coming in anyway, or was he now making the... Okay.
I think he was, but as you asked that, I'm not sure if that was like an emergency, you need to come and be a part of it to fix it or not. But I think he was.
All right.
So I leave the room. And I think I went to the bathroom or something. And I came back in the room, and I'm just standing there about like 10 feet away from the table. It's like I walk into the room, and I just sort of stop, and I'm looking at the table, and it's really, really quiet in there, which is weird for this whole thing. I mean, this has been a lot of talking. Nobody ever stops talking going through. It's just real quiet in this room. And I just stopped, and I was like, what happened in here? Why is it so quiet? What happened? Did Sharon fart? And I just lean into the statement. And I mean, it was like, I don't think I said the word, but it was like I said, what happened? Did Sharon fucking fart? Like, it was just the most aggressive, not even aggressive, but like, it was confrontational. I mean, it was like, I verbally came in and dropped a bomb on the room. I don't know why I said it, but it was the most intense 2.5 second pause in which the woman that I work for, who is mortified. I mean, her jaw drops and she literally vomits a little bit in her mouth. I mean, I see her go like that, just a little like that. I mean, she's like, oh my God. And this 8-person panel of clients is all just sitting there staring at me. And then Sharon just breaks out laughing. She just gut busts. She just starts cracking up. And as soon as she starts cracking up, this other woman next to her starts cracking up. And what ensues is like a 5 to 10 minute rap session about these women start talking about their like 12 and 14-year-old sons, and like, my son ripped the biggest fart yesterday. And again, my the person I work with is just staring at me. And now I'm sitting at the table and I'm making some fart jokes or whatever.
Because you know a lot from beer. And
I've got some
22-year-old frat jokes. Guys. You know a lot about farting. Yeah.
I got some material here. But now what also has just happened is that the room has become humanized. And the tone changes so that and also there's this enormous power dynamic shift where all of a sudden now I have become like the alpha in this room. And there are these things where they're saying, and this word is wrong, and I'm sitting there and I'm just saying things like, oh, come on. We're talking about the difference between the word, we're talking about the difference between the word confidence and self-esteem or something. Like, please, come on. These words are fine. You know what I mean? And they're sort of going, oh, okay. And so the rest of this 2 hours sort of wraps up in a little bit better fashion. And I don't know, here's a pause in the story where we go here is the complex nature of it. So what have we learned in this thing? I don't know. But it's this weird thing that has happened where by being very real and also just sort of like taking control of the tone and making everybody confront their humanity and something like that we found some sort of common denominator where these people aren't allowed to be mean anymore because we're all being humans in a room. And everything gets better. It is since then, I'm known in my company for this, not this sort of like inflammatory behavior, but in terms of like, I'm a professional, but I also always keep things on a human level. And when people are being mean, I will talk like a human, and it changes the situation instead of this weird, like, I'm your client and then so I can do anything I want sort of thing. So it changed my life completely. However, it's not kind of the end of the story, which goes on to, so we get out of this room and then we have to go and make a relatively small amount of changes to this presentation. We have actually found some things. I got to go change the word confidence to self-esteem and take a picture of, a boat and make it a schooner or something like that. And the person that I'm working with gets insanely drunk at our office and is like smoking cigarettes in the office. I don't know this person all that well and if I had a professional relationship, but maybe my fart joke broke her too. And so now, it's 9 o'clock at night and we're back at our office. All of a sudden it's 10 o'clock at night and what was like, hey, I'm going to have a drink after that crazy like meeting. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, do your thing. All of a sudden there's just like, oh, this person is like, if not blacked out, like going to be blacked out soon, and has the presentation like on their laptop in front of them. So now I've got to sort of maneuver and be like, hey, I'll make those changes. No, it's fine. I'll do. No, I don't mind. I'll do this. And it's just like, oh my God, what is about to happen here? We have a presentation now in like less than 12 hours. I mean, it's going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning and all stuff. She gets insanely drunk. She is an hour and a half late to meet the president of my company and myself because she leaves her phone and her keys in the office. My president of my company still has the flu, and I have now come down with the flu. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning. There are now 55 to 60 people in this big like boardroom thing where you picture like almost like Steve Jobsian presentation sort of thing going on. It's almost like a stage. There are screens everywhere, and we're presenting this stuff. I am, that moment where you realize like, oh, I'm about to get like really sick. That has happened, and my stomach is turning upside down, and there's nowhere to hide in this room. And so this thing goes off with me trying not to shit my pants or vomit in the middle of the thing. My president of my company is about in the same mode, and this other female is just
hungover.
A complete wreck. Yeah, exactly. A complete and total wreck. We get done with this presentation. The clients are the presentation goes fine, and the people that we do it for are very excited about our findings, except for this woman who's back to being mean, and she does no thanks and basically says, well, at least we got you there sort of thing. Oh, God, whatever. So I stumble back to like my hotel room in Manhattan. I cannot get on the plane to go home the next day. I am stuck in New York with horrible flu for like 2 more days in this bed, you know what I mean? Just like tragic. Like, I can't move, I can't do anything, I don't know anybody, like there's nobody to care for me.
And there's nothing worse than being sick and not being at home, and being in a hotel, no less.
Exactly. I mean, in this hotel, it's just, everything is terrible. And that is the project that I fought for months to be a part of. And after that, my level of agnosticism about what I do in terms of like, hey, there's this project, it's really interesting. I don't care. I don't care what I work on. I'm never going to fight to be on another thing. It'll either end up to be garbage or it'll be great. People are either super nice or they're not. I essentially, my attitude towards like what I want to work on is completely just in, hey, look, whatever comes, just sign me up for it and do it. Don't even tell me anything about it. I don't care. I have no expectations. If you want me to go explore toilet bowl cleaner with people, I will. If you want me to do like new tech experiences, I absolutely will. But like when people say, oh, it's this really interesting thing about like, we're going to explore people's relationship with like, something super personal to their identity. Isn't that fascinating? And I'm just like, nope. Got potential to ruin my life just like every other thing.
You know, it's funny you say that, because whenever I would be asked to work on a new client or a new assignment, I immediately go to, who am I working with? You know, to your point, I would rather work on, you know, a non-sexy, not very interesting, you know, assignment if I'm working with good people who trust each other and respect each other, and we're going to have fun. So yeah, I totally hear it. There's nothing worse than especially as in a kind of in a service industry, to have clients who are not appreciative and mean.
It can be such a weird industry where it's like, what about our professional dynamic has given you a license to act in this way? Like, how can you say these things to another human being? Like, they're so inflammatory and just like unjustified. And I mean, exactly what you said. I would rather work on Kleenex, or not even Kleenex, facial tissue with nice people than work on, you know, the most cutting edge new streaming platforms with a bunch of jerks. I mean, yeah, and I think that I come back to what I said is I tell this story in different contexts, because like sometimes the point of me telling this story is about what you want versus what you need, you know, fighting for this thing and then you actually get it and it's terrible. It almost ruins your life. It almost drives you out of the industry. It's the worst experience you ever have. And sometimes it's just about like the completely inappropriate nature of walking in and saying, what happened? Sharon fart in here? Just like somehow taking command of a situation. And like, I think that's a part of my personality from much younger, of just like using humor as a defense mechanism, a manipulation tool, a way to like get positive attention. And it's funny too. It's funny when you start to apply some of those behavioral mechanisms in like a professional setting where they don't necessarily fit, but they still work.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm all about if you can bring some levity. And I love the fact of how you talked about like humanizing the situation and people and making it real. And I think that's something that does get lost in the corporate world. So this is great. It's a great story. It's also just some great insights and learnings for all of us to remember.
The number one being like have a good fart joke at your disposal. Whether it's
number one insight here. Yeah.
Whether it's a funeral or a best man speech or your doctoral thesis, I mean, you just got to have that one at your disposal.
Love it. All right, man. Jesse, thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you on the show. And
my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too, Peter.
Right. Bye.
I'm happy to report Jesse's reputation is unscathed. From this experience, he places a premium on doing great work with good people. If you want more Not Suitable for Work or have a work story to tell, be sure to follow us on Facebook at Not Suitable for Work. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. I'm Peter C. Diamond. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter C. Diamond. Not Suitable for Work is produced by Matt Cunningham at Truthful Enthusiasm. Get your story online with truthfulenthusiasm.com. Until next time,